All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 695 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. I really don't want to talk about the Falcons. I really don't. I do have a little bit of Falcons news I want to share, but I don't want to talk about the Falcons. We want to talk about Georgia Southern and the possibility of them winning out the next 4 games. But before I get into that, 2 things I want to get across. One, I don't want to talk about the Falcons. I really don't. But we are going to talk about this trade that they had. And 2, quick announcement. I will not be here tomorrow. I have to travel to South Carolina. So I probably won't have a episode up tomorrow. It's a very slight chance that I will. But if not, I'll probably put a video up just giving you a recap on anything that happened throughout the day. But as far as actual podcast, it probably won't happen. That video will be up on YouTube or Rumble. So if you are interested in any extra content that I may have throughout the day, it'll probably be over there because I'm going to be traveling. So let's go ahead and get into this. Really, if this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. It's been a fun weekend, to be honest. We beat Georgia State. That was huge. And Georgia Southern beat Georgia State. That was a really big game. I discussed that on a video this past weekend on YouTube and Rumble. And also the Falcons have a dilemma on their hands, regardless of what people may say. Some people may want to look at that as, okay, Desmond Ritter's injured. He may be playing this upcoming game against the Vikings. He may not, just for safety precautions. But I feel like, honestly, I think Taylor Heineke outplayed him and gave us a better chance to win that particular game. If Taylor Heineke decides to, if he plays and he puts out another outing like that, it's going to be a really big problem. I'm also going to look at this trade right here, Kentavious Sweat. Let me tell you something about this kid here. He came out of NC State in 2018, didn't play much because he tore his ACL during his pro day. And also San Francisco picked him up in the 4th round. He didn't play any games as a rookie. He didn't play much in 2019 and 2020. But the time he did get to play, he finally got a chance to play a little bit. He didn't play much in 2020 as well, but in 2021, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But in 2022, he had a 1-year deal with the Saints. It's very interesting. He had a 1-year deal with the Saints where he had 29 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 8 quarterback hits while playing in a rotational role. Why is that significant? Well, the defensive line coach is not a defensive coordinator for the Falcons, so he knows this kid very well. So that's going to be really interesting. They traded for him for a 7th round pick. And I think, let me see what the deal was. It was, they gave a 7th round pick, and Kentavious Street, he went to the Falcons, and Falcons gave up a 6th round pick. And if Street plays in 6 games for the Falcons, that's the only time that the pick swap will occur. If not, I guess we just get Kentavious Street. Let me tell you something. Street's going to play more than 6 games because Grady Jarrett is out. And this kid right here knows what it's like to play in this defense. So he's going to play probably for the rest of the season. And with that being said, I think this was a really good trade for the Falcons. Especially you get a guy who your defensive coordinator is familiar with, even though I don't think he's going to be able to pick up what Grady Jarrett has done because Grady Jarrett is a monster. You got a guy who knows this system, and you got a guy that's created this defensive system, know how to use this player. On a 1-year deal, he had 29 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 8 quarterback hits. So therefore, he knows what to get out of this player, and the player knows what to get out of this defense. And he's going to be a rotational player. Probably may play a little bit more than he did with the Saints because Grady Jarrett's out, but he's going to play. So that's really interesting. So that's going to be really cool to see him playing in a Falcons uniform because I think they're going to get really good value and really good production out of him. And look, I don't know what his contract situation is like. If he produces at a high level, we may end up signing him for a long-term deal. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but hey, another 2 or 3 years under contract won't hurt him at all. So especially with how he came out of the draft and being much of a guy who just want a chance. All right, I done spent 5 minutes on that. I didn't think I was going to spend that much time on it. Like I said, but all the other stuff going on with the Falcons, I don't want to touch. So let's talk about Georgia Southern. I hope they went out. I really, really hope they went out. Looking at the schedule, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because right now they play Texas State. Texas State is not looking like the team that we thought they were coming out in the beginning of the season. Right now they're 5-3. I think they just lost to Troy. Let me back that up and make sure if I'm correct. They just lost to Troy 13-3. They edged out a game against ULM and they lost to Louisiana. Those are the last 3 games. This is a fairly winnable game. Even ESPN kind of got us on top of this game. And I don't want to go down to the Marshall, Old Dominion, Appalachian State. I already been on record saying earlier this year, we're going to lose 3 games. I thought I was going to lose against Wisconsin. I thought I was going to lose to James Madison. And I felt like we were going to lose to Marshall. For some reason, I felt like Marshall was going to be the team that's going to give us fits late in the season. But Texas State may be that team. We're playing them on the road, and we've won in San Marcos recently. Well, a couple years ago. I mean, it's not a team. It's not a place that we can't go and win. It's just the fact that Texas State do have a very potent offense. So our defense is going to have to step up and play some ball. And for the most part, I think they've done okay throughout the season. Obviously, the James Madison game does stick out. And Wisconsin, that game, I think our defense did as much as they could, all things considering us turning the ball over 5 times, 5 interceptions. But overall, I think our defense has done pretty good against other teams. I mean, Coastal Carolina stands out. Even ULM Monroe, we was able to close that game out defensively. And Georgia State game, I mean, we did very well. I mean, we made them one-dimensional to the point that, they basically found ways to run the ball against us, but they really couldn't get them that much going. I mean, we really did a pretty good job handling them. So going up against Texas State, I think we're going to be able to be fine when it goes going against those guys. Everybody's been raving about their quarterback, Finley. Finley looks pretty good so far at 2,000 yards or 2,203 yards passing, 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He looks really, really good. Their running back, Mahdi, has been running pretty well with 854 yards, and their leading receiver has 663 yards. As far as defensively, they allow a good bit of yards. They allow over 400 yards a game. I don't know, I'm not going to say that's good. I ain't going to say that's bad. I'm not going to say that's good, but at the same time, it is something that we need to be, mindful of. I mean, if they're giving up that much, that means that we could probably do some things against their defense. Offensively, kind of a balance. They average over 200 on both ends, so that means I think Finley's probably running a little bit too. It's just something that we're just going to have to be mindful of when we go play against these guys. But I'm looking at everything else. Once that goes, I mean, Marshall and Old Dominion, a lot of people say Old Dominion has been playing pretty good. I'm not going to go that far down just yet. I'm still taking us gut feeling that we'll probably end up losing at Marshall. That's just my gut feeling. But I think we're in good hands to win the next 3, even at Appalachian State. I think we can beat them in their own house this year. They're probably going to try to play spoiler because they're probably on the brink of not even making a bowl game. That will be crazy if Appalachian State can't make a bowl game. But if they could play spoiler, they will kindly do so. I mean, we spoiled a few of their seasons as well, but nevertheless, Georgia Southern has business to take care of with Georgia State. I'm sorry, not Georgia State, Texas State. And I think once that happens, things will just basically fall downhill from there. Like I said, I'm still a little worried about the Marshall game. The other games, not so much. But it's just something about that game against Marshall. I don't know what it is, but I've been feeling it ever since last year when we lost to Marshall. I was like, for some reason, I feel like this is going to be a team that just has our number. And I'm not talking about like a Georgia State style have our number. I'm talking about just is one of those teams that we're in all cases probably more talented than them, but for some reason they just find a way to beat us. I mean, it happened last year. I mean, they ran the ball very well against us last year, and matter of fact, I was at that game, and it wasn't. I ain't gonna say it wasn't fun, but it's just for the simple fact that it just wasn't the type of game that I felt that we didn't play up to standards. We just didn't. So going there is going to be I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, I don't mind being wrong, but it's just something in my gut telling me, man, this is a team. To me, it feels like it's a trap game. Because when you look at all the other games, like we're going to play up to Texas State. We may overlook Marshall. Old Dominion is at home, so you know we're going to be up for that game. And Appalachian State, we're always up for that game. It's just something about that game. But I hope they win out. And I think they have a really good chance of doing so. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not, you know, but I hope they do. And looking at the next 4 games, they could. Do y'all realize if they do that, that will be a 10-2 season? And another thing that nobody's talked about, Georgia Southern has already matched their win total from last year. You know, nobody's really talked about that. I mean, I think all of the spotlight is on James Madison and what they've done, and they've done a phenomenal job. I mean, they basically took it to us this year after us beating them last year. So they're really, you know, on top of the world in the Sun Belt, to be honest. We'll just see how that all shakes out. Will we play for the Sun Belt title? Will it be a 9-2 or 9-3 or a 10-2 team going into bowl season? I think if we're 10-2, I think we get a pretty decent bowl. I think we get a really good one to play in. Unfortunately, we'll probably play against a really good opponent. But I mean, like I said, with us playing against Wisconsin, I mean, at halftime, I mean, we were in the thick of things. So I think we could play up against almost anybody. I mean, obviously, maybe like the top 6 teams in the country, maybe top 8 teams in the country we probably can't compete in, you know, realistically. And I mean, that's kind of debatable. I'll say probably top 6. But when you look at, you know, the rest of the top 25, I think we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. So even though if we do end up getting, let's say we're 20, let's say if we're 10-2 and we get like a top, you know, 10, not even say top 10, but like a top 20 team, you know, probably like a Utah or Tennessee. You know, I doubt if we get Tennessee, but you know what I mean? Like if we get like Utah or, you know, Kansas State. Now that would be awesome. We get K-State. That'd be great. You know, somebody like that, somebody in the top 25. You know, that'd be, you know, really interesting to see if what a 10-win team would do against them. So we're in the thick of things, y'all. I mean, and like I said, I didn't want to talk about the Falcons much, but even the Falcons, they're in the thick of things too. I mean, they're still in the top of the division. You know, we're at the top of the division in the Sun Belt, you know. By technicality, we could be the Sun Belt East representatives, you know. And don't get me wrong. Before I'm going to get out of here before I say this, I honestly believe James Madison is deserving to be the Sun Belt East champs. Hey, they beat us. You know, they're the only loss that we have in the conference so far, and they beat us handily. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, better luck next time or ha, James Madison. No, James Madison deserves it. The problem is, you know what you signed up for. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like you sign up for a job that pays well, and you know you may not be getting that bonus, but it pays well. So you go out there and do your best on the job, and then you get mad because you don't get the bonus. Well, you signed up for the job knowing that you're not going to get the bonus. So even though you may be one of the top workers, this is what you signed up for. So it's kind of like the same thing with James Madison is going through right now. I mean, it sucks. I believe that they're well deserving to be the Sun Belt East representative, but up until now, unless something changed, it looks like Georgia Southern has the driver's seat to it. I mean, I don't see us actually falling. I mean, even if, let's just say, for instance, we do beat everybody but Marshall, you know, we're still going to be, you know, what, 6-2? Or, yeah, 6-2 in the conference. You know what I mean? I mean, that's going to be, we are to beat Coastal Carolina. Marshall's not going to be there to be the tiebreaker. Georgia State may be there, but even then, Georgia State just gonna have to win out, and their schedule is brutal. Coastal Carolina's another one, may have to win out. We beat Old Dominion, they're out of it. Appalachian State, they're out of it. So it's gonna behoove us to win out, because if we win out, end up being, what it is, 3, 4, 5, we be 7-1 in the conference. I mean, that's gonna be really hard to to deny us. Even if the James Madison situation, I ain't gonna say if the James Madison situation go through, because if it goes through, those guys are deserving. But for the other teams, we just basically have to win out. This is why I hope they win out. So I'm gonna get up out of here. I can ramble all day, and I know y'all probably tired of hearing me. But I really did not want to talk about the Falcons today. I know there's a lot of rumblings about the quarterback situation. I did talk about Kentavious Sweat, and I'm glad that he's on the team. I think he's gonna be a bigger asset than we think. And I think that's a pretty good trade by the Falcons. So let's see if the Eagles win out. Let's see if they can do this. If you like this commentary, the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Do you hope Georgia Southern win out as well? I mean, I know our Eagle fans, they really want to see that. But at the same time, when you look at what Georgia Southern is doing, that could put us, right there, right behind Georgia as far as, recognition. I mean, Georgia, the Bulldogs will get all this recognition in the state of Georgia and don't realize that there's a team in Statesboro that actually making some moves. People started to give Georgia State a little bit of credit until we smacked them in the mouth, and now nobody acts like Georgia State exists. No, they exist, but you got to also understand there's another team down here that is doing some things too. If we get a 10-win season, I think we should get more respect on our name. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble, also Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. I could be found on Twitter or X at VFBaller, and the website is firstandframerates.com. If you want to support the show in a monetary value, the Cash App is VFBaller20. VFBaller20, the link is down in the description. Hopefully you guys will check that out as well. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, y'all. Let's take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.